The biggest Russian companies are imploding in front of our eyes, and Putin can't do anything to stop it. Russia's energy giant, Rosneft, was once the biggest company in Russia. And now it has just reported a catastrophic 70% drop in profits for the first 9 months of 2025. Remember, this is a state-owned company that's directly financing Putin's war machine. And now it seems it may not survive the special military operation that Putin started. Making matters worse, a record amount of Russian oil is now stuck at sea, unable to find buyers willing to risk sanction. This failure has caused Russian oil revenues to halve in just last month. So, what is Putin's solution to all this? Well, he's cracking down on the Russian internet, the good old dictator's playbook. Don't fix the problem, just make sure people don't find out about the problem. VPNs are now being blocked, and major cities like St. Petersburg have suffered a massive internet outage. The war is collapsing the economy, and Putin is resorting to digital silence to hide the pain. Unfortunately though, it seems Putin cannot silence everyone. Take a listen to how ordinary people think about little Vladimir.
This is a maniac who came to power on blood. When he came to power, the submarine was sinking Kursk. Foreigners offered him, "Let us help you raise it." The guys were knocking on these. They asked for help, but he didn't lift a finger. Came to power on blood. Excuse me, stop it, I don't know, Lord. How you put up with all this? Lord, and he continues, he's pure maniac, you understand? He gets off on the idea of blood being spilled. He gets a kick out of it. For him it's, I don't know, he's pushing for all of this. How is it possible? Where are these Russian...
And let's not forget about the FSB bombings that Putin orchestrated himself, so he can increase the Russian brutality in Chechnya. But now it seems Putin's thirst for blood is coming back to bite him. Russia's biggest company, Rosneft, just reported a 70% drop in profits for the first half of this year. First 9 months actually. That means January to September of 2025. According to the CEO, who is right now making sure he stays away from windows in Moscow, this fall in profit is because of low prices for Russian oil, growing discount that Putin is offering to every single country, and of course, Western sanctions against Russian tankers, so Putin's shadow fleet. Clearly, it was not a good start to the year for Rosneft, but unfortunately, on October 22nd, things got worse. The United States announced sanctions against two of Russia's biggest oil companies, one of them being Rosneft and the other one Lukoil. Well, those sanctions just went into effect on November 22nd, and now we have results of how badly they're hurting their bottom line. A record amount of Russian oil is now stuck at sea because the buyers are just not risking taking delivery. Take a look at this chart. This is tracking how much of Russian oil is just floating around at sea in tankers. And take a look at how that amount has gone up drastically since end of October. That's when the United States announced the sanctions. And then we see another bump at the end of November. That's when the sanctions went into effect. Now, the simple question rises here. Why would Russia keep shipping off its oil if they don't have buyers, if buyers don't want to buy it? Well, the answer has to do with Putin's facade. He wants to make sure that Russian public knows that Russian exports are not going down because of sanctions. That's why tankers are being loaded up on Russian ports and shipped off. That way the export numbers look good. But no one is actually buying these oils. That means the tankers are just floating around freely. But you know where we can see the effect of this though? Russian revenues. Since the end of October, Russian revenue from oil and gas sales have went down 34%. That's almost a third. Actually, that's exactly a third. As if that wasn't bad enough. If we look at number even closely, it seems every single week the decline is accelerating. Meaning, every 7 days, Russia is actually making less money from selling oil than they made the previous 7 days. That's a huge problem for our little Vladimir because he needs money to keep the war going. And that's why he's offering bigger and bigger discounts to Indian and Chinese refineries while they are cutting their purchases of sanctioned oil. This is not friendship, this is desperation. Putin desperately needs that sweet, sweet blood money, and unfortunately, the only way he can make a sale now is just by giving a bigger discount. But all this is hurting the Russian people the most. Because remember, for the Russian government, a big portion of their budget comes from these oil and gas sales. So if Putin is not getting that money from exports, he's gonna get it from somewhere else. For Putin, he doesn't care that Russians are suffering. For him, the only thing he cares about is if Putin is staying in power or not. Take a listen.
When I focused much of my career on trying to see the world through the twisted KGB eyes of Vladimir Putin, I had a source once who told me that, listen, if today was a rough day and tomorrow's even worse, and we make a whole lot of decisions today that will make tomorrow a worse day, but Vladimir Putin is still in power, well, that was a good day for him. And I think that's how he looks at it. He just wants to stay in power, cling to power for as long as he possibly can. He's dug a deep hole here.
But remember, money is how every dictatorship collapses, or I guess lack thereof. So, even though Putin may not care about what Russian people feel, he does care about continuing this war. Usually dictatorships don't last after losing a major war. That's why he needs money to buy supplies for his army, and he needs money to get weapons for his soldiers who are in Ukraine. Or does he? See, that's the question, because this is where I'll say something I didn't think I would ever say. Putin has come up with a genius solution that no human mind can actually comprehend. What is that solution? He is bringing Russia back to the Soviet times. The Kremlin has issued a 14-page guide to Russian companies on how they can structure goods for goods contracts, instead of selling goods for money, which they're having a hard time doing. As normal Russians like to call it, this is the good old Soviet-era barter system. According to this guide that Kremlin is giving out, companies are being instructed to basically sell oil for wheat, or sell oil for Chinese cars, or sell oil for construction materials and home appliances. And guess what? It's working. According to this guide, it seems there have been at least, and I say at least, 8 transactions that are successful using this brand new system that Putin came up with. Guys, it specifies this at least, so it could be 8,000, but we know for sure at least 8 transactions have been successful. So, can we please just take a second and give a round of applause to Putin for this economic innovation that he came up with? I'm sure next year he's going to win the Nobel Prize in economics. Now, unfortunately though, the innovation is not enough. The government still needs money, and it's going to get it one way or another. Russian officials just announced that they're making some difficult decisions to make sure Russia survives this war. That difficult decision is raising taxes. So I'm guessing when officials are saying that this is a difficult decision, they mean that it's difficult for Russian citizens. Because I doubt Putin and his oligarchs are gonna feel the pain of this tax increase. But if you're a Russian citizen, don't worry, because according to the Russian finance minister, people actually will not feel any type of pain because of this tax increase. That's because this is one of the least painful tax increases in the history of the world. I'm not kidding. Take a listen.
Value-added tax is, in my opinion, the least painful tax. Yes, of course, it is included in the price, but given the tight monetary policy, I am sure that we will not notice this tax change.
My Russian is not the best, so I don't know what he means when he says that people will not feel any pain. Does he mean that people are already broke? They got no money, so they don't need to worry about tax increases. 10% of 0 is 0, 20% of 0 is 0. They don't gotta worry about anything. Either way, I don't think Russians are buying what Putin is trying to sell them. Because you know that famous saying, don't look at what officials say, look at what they do. Well, that means if Putin truly believed that this was the least painful tax increase in the history, then he would not be shutting down the Russian internet. You see, December started with a massive internet outage in major Russian cities like St. Petersburg. Neither Telegram nor WhatsApp were working. The only thing people could access were websites that Putin wanted them to access. This included his favorite newspaper website, his favorite Kremlin TV website, and of course, all the official governmental agency websites. And you guys were commenting that Russia is not a free country. If this is not freedom, I don't know what is. Now, it's not just the internet that Putin is going after. He's also going after VPNs. This is like a method that Russians use to get all the news from channels like ourselves and other news channels that Putin doesn't want them to know about. Take a look at this report. Russians are now losing internet access because of intensified fight against VPNs. When an internet provider detects VPN traffic, it simply cuts the connection and the device loses its DNS setting. This is some kind of setting that you need to connect with the internet. As a result of losing this setting, you lose the internet. Basically, everything goes down, nothing loads, no websites, no search engine, and everything just buffers. Ha, I got you guys. Unfortunately for Putin though, this is backfiring because some Russians are now very publicly voicing their opposition. Here we have a Russian girl complaining how living in Russia right now is like living in ancient times.
Well, this is fucked. We are in isolation. I just leave the house and my phone turns into a brick because absolutely nothing works. I pull up to a gas station and I have to have my card with me because my mobile internet doesn't work. I just went into a coffee shop. I couldn't pay because their terminal doesn't work, because the mobile internet doesn't work. Their Wi-Fi also doesn't work. Consequently, I just left with nothing because I can't pay with a card or a QR code. I need cash. Now everyone has to make calls again. And now I'm sitting in the car and listening to the radio, damn it, because I don't have internet and I can't play my favorite songs. Sometimes, it's better to drive in silence than to listen to the radio right now. Maybe I wouldn't even be against cash. You can also not pay taxes, if anything, but there's another problem there. There's never any damn change. And if you come with 5,000, in short, I haven't decided what to do with this yet. I was just at the shopping center, and even there I couldn't pay for anything because small businesses' terminals don't work, due to the lack of, again, internet. And consequently, who suffers? Not even the consumer, but small business again. Because I'll manage without these things. Basically, I couldn't buy and I couldn't withdraw money. Well, I'm lazy, I won't go, like most people. So those are the things, guys.
When first responders got to the scenes, they started rescuing people from the rubble. They discovered 2 children, aged 2 and 13, were stuck under the debris. And unfortunately, this is nothing new. Russia has been targeting children for the last few years, and now even some Russians inside Russia are questioning why the hell is Putin doing this. They're questioning if Russians are truly the bad guys in this war. And this is all happening on Kremlin TV. Take a look.
I was born in Donbas. We were raised on the stories of heroic pioneers and the young guard, because all of it happened there. When I was a child, I was told about Zina Portnova, Zoya Kosmodemyanskaya, and others. When I was told how the fascists killed our heroes Zina Portnova and Zoya Kosmodemyanskaya, I was beyond upset. I still remember that. Okay, it was about the inhumane attitude to teenagers and children regardless of their heroic acts.
Are you comparing heroic pioneers with arsonists who set relay cabinets on fire?
Listen, the pioneers were also terrorists and saboteurs to the fascists, and the fascists executed them. Alexei Gennadievich, did you just compare the Russian state with the fascist state? Did I hear you correctly? It's you who's making this comparison. And I repeat once again, I'm talking about my experiences, Ivan. I felt sorry for them. I didn't understand how people could be so cruel to children. This is not right at all. And now our country, our homeland, protected by God, is suggesting to place 14-year-old children in prison for life.
Now, stories like these are horrendous, but the sad part is, there's so much of this happening in Ukraine that I can't even show the whole thing here on YouTube. As an independent creator, we don't have the same privileges that mainstream news channels have on YouTube. Meaning, if we show you something that's too graphic, YouTube will either restrict our video or just delete it altogether. Despite all that, we try to cover as much as we can, but it's still frustrating to see that the mainstream media, who has way more privilege than us on YouTube, refuse to cover these war crimes that Russia is carrying out. Maybe they're too scared, or maybe they're just not interested. This is exactly why we started Basics Insider. It's our own platform where we provide coverage on news that the legacy media either refuses to cover or is not interested in covering. The best part is that we have no restrictions on this website. We built it from scratch. So, unlike on YouTube, we don't have to censor a drone blast, we don't have to censor a Russian convoy getting destroyed by Ukrainian defenders, and best of all, we don't have to censor something because advertisers don't like it. That's because, you see, we don't run ads on this website. We run this website with support from you guys. So, if you're someone who's interested in coverage like this, please be sure to check out Basics Insider by going to basicsinsider.com. You can also use the link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen. By signing up, you get access to content that we literally cannot post here on YouTube. And on top of that, you'll be supporting our channel and supporting our coverage. So thank you so much. My name is Sam, and I'll see you guys in the next video.